Alright, welcome back, Doom Tubers. Doomwaves back here for a pseudo game discussion. I've already talked about the game quite a bit in my last recent gaming video, and that is Serious Sam for the original Xbox. Finished it a little bit ago, and I must say, this is quite amazing. This game, man, I don't even know when this came out originally on PC, but I tell you what, the fun factor is high in that game because it is absolutely just balls to the wall, you know, run and gun first person shooter, and it's hilarious and it's colorful and it controls so very well, and it's just awesome. Control wise, the only thing that I wasn't a huge fan of was the cycling through the weapons. To cycle through the weapons, you had to use the A button and the A and B buttons. And I think there was a way to use the X and Y somehow for something, like to maybe map like a favorite weapon, so like you could just automatically just click that and go to your favorite weapon, but I never really figured out how to do that. So the X and Y buttons didn't do anything for my entire playthrough. It was just A and B to cycle through weapons, and then it was black was your U's, like to toggle switches and use things like that, and then white was actually, it just brought up like messages like from your Intel source, and then obviously start is pause, and then control with the two thumbsticks, but you could also use the D-pad and the thumbstick if you wanted to. And yeah, I mean, I didn't like, also at first I didn't like that the left trigger was actually how you jumped. So you shot with right and you jumped with left, and I would rather it have been jump with A, and then I would rather left trigger did nothing, as opposed to the X and Y buttons doing nothing. But I'm sure there was different ways to map it. I don't think that you could actually like customize the controls, but that's just a very minor complaint. Other than that, though, I really didn't have too many, if any, to name complaints about the game. The story, I mean, there is somewhat of a story there if you want it. And what I mean by that is, like I said, your Intel source that gives you information. Between the levels, you're given like a synopsis, or a description of the area that you're going to. Because at least in this, in the first encounter and second encounter games, you're going to real places, pretty much. More or less real places. And you go to ancient Egypt, and it like gives you some, the history I'm sure is all bogus, but I don't know about some of the myths and stuff like that, but I'm sure it's all bogus. But anyway, you're in ancient Egypt, and then you go to like the Mayan ruins, and then you go to like Eastern Europe or something in the last part of the game, the last leg of the game. And it's really interesting. The last part actually is really funny. The first part of the game, obviously, you're in Egypt. You're in a desert for most of it, and then you find like an oasis, and then you're inside ancient Egyptian ruins and things. And then in the Mayan part, there's lots of jungle and stuff like that, and you're inside old Mayan ruins and things like that. And then in the Eastern European one, it's like old villages, and the screen's like kind of crackly, like old silent films. And of course, it's thunderstorm out, and it's got like almost like Castlevania eerie kind of music going on. But it's an interesting concept. But as weird as it is, though, the setting never really made that much difference, like what type of enemies you were fighting. It was the same kind of enemies no matter where you were, pretty much. But that was okay. I mean, there's quite a variety of enemies, surprisingly. I did notice when they went from first encounter to second encounter, they added a couple. Like, I don't think the dudes with the chainsaws was in the first encounter, but they're in the second encounter. There's dudes with chainsaws, and they're pretty quick too. So that's something to watch out for if you're gonna play this. Dudes with chainsaws, and I don't know. Seems like, oh, there's like another kind of like a grunt soldier that's got like a laser, and then one that like shoots rockets up. So there's a few more enemies added when you get into the second encounter, but the transition is seamless on the Xbox version. It doesn't say first encounter in the beginning of the game, and it doesn't say second encounter when you move into that part. So unless you read up on it a little bit, or you're watching this review or another review much better than this one, you wouldn't know that you were actually playing two games, because it is seamless. They just call the whole game is broken down into episodes, and I think there's 5 episodes total. And so when you finish the 5th episode, you're just done with the game. So yeah, I kind of like how they did. They managed though to put both first and second encounters, because they're both reasonably short. The game didn't have a timer in it, so I don't know how long it took me to beat. Couldn't have been too long. I want to say less than 10 hours, because I didn't play it that long. I played a couple of good 2 or 3 hour sessions, 2 or 3 of those. So we're gonna say less than 10 hours, or right at. I don't know. It was hard for me to judge, because I was kind of sick when I first started playing, and I wasn't really paying that close of attention to what time it was, because I was here during the day, while I should have been at work, if I hadn't have been sick. But see, I didn't really have a good concept of time at that point anyway. I don't know, really short and totally worth it. Please don't be discouraged by the fact that it's kind of short and kind of easy too. Because it's so much fun. Some people are just, if there's no challenge, they don't want to play it, especially with first-person shooters, and they feel like they're wasting their money. It's like I can almost see, like, maybe if you paid $60 for this when it was brand new, how you might be a little bummed out that it's so short and kind of cheesy and whatever. But man, this game is just packed to the gills with charm, and it is just so awesome. I said it in my last video, and if you haven't watched that and you are watching this one, it is basically like a very non-crude version of Duke Nukem. It's hilarious. The commentary is good. I mean, he doesn't talk a lot. Every now and then he'll say something, and it's just funny every time that he does, though. Like, I don't know why. I just laughed every time he talked. And I wish that the little intel thing had spoken instead of just having to read these messages. It would have been nice if it was actually like a robotic voice, like Clank, in Ratchet and Clank, that would actually talk to you, or something like that. That would have been nice. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I don't know, like I also kind of said in my last video, sorry, I'm like kicking back, taking it easy during this discussion, man. It's a really, really lighthearted game. It plays a lot like Quake 2, like I said, or like a Duke Nukem. It's pretty similar. Over-the-top guns, over-the-top gore, gibs everywhere, blood just flying everywhere. And I think there's a way to even change the blood to where they bleed flowers or something like that. I watched that, and I think it was a CGR Undertows review of it. So go check out their review, because it's an awesome review. Yeah, and he actually shows gameplay footage of them bleeding flowers and stuff. But I also wanted to mention, there is a Serious Sam 2 also for the original Xbox, and I want to get that as well. And then there is an HD collection. They're not just a collection on 360, it's actually an HD collection. They've all been given a fresh coat of paint, and I watched some videos of those too, and man, do they look awesome. I can't wait to pick those up and play the game again, because they look really good. And yeah, I don't know if there's any online multiplayer or anything like that. It would be cool, because that would be a game I could get into, playing multiplayer. Serious Sam, because it's just a spectacular little game. Seriously, if you should check this out if you have an original Xbox. I do not know if it works in the 360. So if you're worried about that, just get the HD remake, which is on 360. But if you're interested in the original Xbox one, I know for a fact on eBay and Amazon and stuff, it's like less than $10 for a complete copy. And yeah, you really can't go wrong, honest to goodness. It is such a great game. And I don't know anything about Serious Sam 2, quite honestly, so I can't necessarily recommend it yet. But if it's the same price range, and it's comparable gameplay-wise, I don't see how it could... Excuse me, I don't see how it could be bad, quite honestly, because unless they just totally just screwed everything up, screwed up the formula, like, completely, then, yeah, because this was such a hard formula to screw up. I mean, they did almost everything right, in my eyes, you know. This played a lot like, played a lot like Quake, a lot like Doom, and a lot like Duke Nukem, but it looks just a little bit better than all those said games. And, it may even, remind me a little bit of like Quake 3 Arena, in the way that it looks and the way that it flows. It flows really well. It's a really good first-person shooter. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I'm gushing, I know, but I don't know. I just can't recommend this game enough. And I'm so glad that I found this game and decided to play this game when I did, because, excuse me, like I said, I've been kind of in a funk lately, and I don't throw around the term palate cleanser enough, or that much, because quite frankly, I have such an eclectic taste in games anyway. I play, I might go RPG, first person shooter, puzzle game, anyway, I don't necessarily need a palate cleanser, because I vary my games so much anyway. But for me, the palate cleanser part of it was just the fact that it's a really fun, simple, hilarious first-person shooter that was exciting and fun to play, quick. The whole game, like, not just in the length of time it took to play, just like you're moving so fast. There's no run. That's another thing that I wish it would have had. Every now and then you get a run power-up, and you can run long distances, faster for long distances. But, I mean, that's whatever. And there was no zoom except for the sniper rifle, which I believe was only on second encounter also. I think that was a new weapon to the second encounter. And I think that the flamethrower was new for second encounter also. But the weapons are so much fun. I don't think I talked as much, maybe at all, about the weapons. They vary. I mean, you start out with, you give it a pistol, and a 6-shooter pistol and a knife. And right away, I mean, you upgrade. If you look right around, I think in the first stage, you can upgrade and get a second pistol, so you're dual wielding, but you still just have to pull the one trigger and it just fires automatically. And these are great because they fire quick, and they're powerful, and they have unlimited ammo. You never run out of pistol bullets. You'll find yourself switching to the pistols often, just for those kind of nuisance enemies that you can pick off from far away. Like, for instance, there's one enemy. It's a headless monster. Like, it looks like a headless person, and it's holding 2 bombs above its head, and it's running at full speed towards you, yelling at the top of his lung, "Ah!" And they all sound identical, and they're hilarious because you can hear them coming from a long way away, and they've got these bombs, and they're just trucking, man, straight towards you. And kamikaze, I don't even know what they're called exactly, but they're hilarious, and they only take one shot to blow up. I mean, so you can pick them off from far away. And there'll be several times where there's a lot of these things, and you can just kind of bum, 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 and just mow them down, and it's great. Can you tell I like this game? So you got the dual-wielding pistols, and you upgrade to a pump-action shotgun, and then there's, of course, the double-barrel shotgun, which reloads really fast. So it's not such a nuisance, where you fire both barrels and you gotta wait like a second. It's actually pretty quick, so unrealistic, and you don't ever have to reload the pump action shotgun either. It stays loaded the whole time. And then you move on, you get a Tommy gun, which you never have to reload either, and a minigun, which is just crazy overpowered. and there's a rocket launcher, grenade launcher, flamethrower, like I said. There's the sniper rifle. There is the plasma rifle, which is basically just a machine gun laser kind of thing, which is incredibly overpowered. And then there's the cannon, which actually looks like a giant cannon that is just ridiculously overpowered, but you only hold 30 at a time. You save those for boss battles. And then there's the serious bomb. Now, the serious bomb is awesome, but it doesn't work on bosses. But it comes in handy during boss fights, because at least as far as I know, and I beat all the bosses in the game. But I played on easy mode. I should say that just because I wanted to blast through it. Don't hate me. But the serious bomb will destroy everything on the screen all at once. Just instantly destroy everything on the screen, except for the bosses. And the bosses spawn enemies a lot of times. They'll throw enemies at you like crazy. So these come in handy during boss battles because you can clear the screen and then focus your attacks on the boss without having to worry about other enemies pummeling you and destroying you. Now, you don't necessarily have to conserve your ammunition that much, at least on the lower difficulties. You don't really have to conserve throughout the game. You can, except for maybe the cannon and maybe the plasma rifle and the serious bombs. I would conserve those, but really everything else, there's so much ammunition throughout the levels, and you're given these ammo packs just constantly, and they have like a little bit of each kind of ammunition, and same with health and armor. At least on the lower difficulties, like I said, this shit is everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. And you're scored at the end of each round, and there's some treasures to collect and things like that, and some secrets, and based on your score, you get 1-ups, and your extra lives actually come in handy, because it's not like in other games where you die and you have that extra life and you go back to the beginning of the level, or where if you didn't have any lives, you died, you get a game over, you have to go back to your last save or something like that. You can do that if you want to, but it just respawns you, and when you respawn, you have all of your stuff still. So that's nice. You rack up the points, get those extra lives, and then when you die, if you die in a boss battle or something like that, you just pop back up right where you were. Obviously you get less points, for having to respawn and stuff like that. But hey, I thought it was really nice, and I had like 180. Extra lives by the end of it. I did die several times in some of the boss battles. I will say, and minor spoiler here, the boss at the end of the first encounter is way harder than the final boss. My God! I was not looking forward to the final boss because I was in the mindset that it was going to be tricky and hard like the first encounter boss. Mind you, he was still tough. The final boss was still tough, but not in the same way as the first encounter boss. And if you've played this game or these games, tell me what you think. If you agree with me that the boss at the end of the first encounter with the spaceship above him, you know what I'm talking about, is way harder than the final boss. But I don't know if I've missed anything, but I love this game. I can't say that enough. I know there's actually like a few other games out there. I think there's like a 3, and then maybe a couple other intermittent ones, and there's like some other ports, like a Game Boy Advance port of this game, and I might need that. I don't know. So anyway, a new fan of the Serious Sam games, Doomwaves is. So I hope you made some sort of sense out of this nonsensical review or discussion, not really a review because it's just me sitting here gushing about this game. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Doomwaves out.